Often considered the forgotten Boeing 747, the 747-300 was developed as the next generation of this distinct airliner family line during the late 1970s and early 1980s, capitalizing on increases in size and performance against the original 100 and 200 series in the hopes of creating another successful hit within the ever-competitive airliner market. Unfortunately, the 747-300 would go on to be an extremely obscure model due to it being too expensive, alongside the fact that the 747-200 continued in production alongside it, and the prospect of the highly advanced 747-400 within less than a decade, which would rewrite the book on wide-body airliner technology, thus meaning what was meant to be the next stage in the lineage of this esteemed model would instead become merely a footnote. During the 1970s, Boeing faced growing competition in the wide-body aircraft market, particularly from newer trijet models such as the McDonnell Douglas DC-10 and the Lockheed L-1011 TriStar, with these aircraft being designed to be more efficient for certain medium to long-haul routes and threatened to chip away at the market dominance Boeing had established with the original 747. In response, Boeing began investigating several ways to increase the seating capacity and overall economic performance of its iconic jumbo jet, without sacrificing its long-haul appeal or requiring a complete redesign, with one of the earliest proposals being a radical three-engine version of the 747 dubbed the 747-300, designed to better match the operational cost profile of competing trijets. This proposed configuration featured two engines under the wings and a third mounted at the rear of the fuselage, similar to the L-1011, though following engineering evaluations, it was quickly revealed that this configuration would introduce several structural, aerodynamic, and training complications, with the shortened fuselage requiring an entirely new wing, and issues such as disturbed airflow over the rear engine, especially during high angles of attack, proved to be insurmountable, leading to the project's cancellation. Shifting away from ambitious reconfigurations, Boeing focused instead on modifying the existing 747 structure to accommodate more passengers, and in the late 1970s launched a series of internal studies aimed at increasing seating without significantly altering the fuselage or wing, with concepts including inserting fuselage plugs fore and aft of the wing or extending the upper deck the full length of the fuselage. However, these options were ultimately deemed too expensive or operationally impractical, and the most viable approach turned out to be a modest yet effective solution of elongating the existing upper deck, thus allowing for a substantial increase in passenger capacity, particularly in economy class layouts, with relatively minimal structural alteration, with the initial designation for this configuration being the 747 SUD or stretched upper deck, later rebranded as the 747 EUD or extended upper deck, before receiving its final production name of the 747-300. Based on these upgrades, the 747-300 included a 23-foot 4-inch extension to the upper deck over the earlier 747-200, allowing airlines to install as many as 69 economy seats on the upper deck, more than double the 32-seat capacity typical of earlier models, though this redesign also necessitated the addition of 2 emergency exit doors on the upper deck due to increased occupancy, while the elegant yet inefficient spiral staircase used in earlier variants was replaced with a conventional straight stairway, which not only saved structural weight but also freed up more room for seating both above and below. From an aerodynamic and performance standpoint, the 747-300 featured subtle yet effective enhancements, as while the basic airframe and wing design remained largely unchanged from the 747-200, refinements to the wing profile and flight control surfaces improved cruise performance, with the aircraft capable of reaching a cruising speed of Mach 0.85, a slight improvement over the Mach 0.84 typical of its predecessors. Despite the larger passenger capacity and extended structure, the 747-300 maintained similar maximum takeoff weights to the 200 series, with various configurations supporting up to 416 tons, while the aircraft also retained compatibility with the existing engine families used on earlier models, including the Pratt & Whitney JT9D 7R4G2, Rolls-Royce RB211 524D4, and the more modern General Electric CF6-80C 2B1, the latter offering improved fuel efficiency and thrust. The operational range of the 747-300 depended on the engine and payload configuration, but it could typically achieve a maximum range of approximately 6,788 miles when fully fueled and loaded, and was able to attain a cruising altitude of 45,000 feet, thereby making the 300, in technical terms, a capable long-haul aircraft suited to transoceanic routes, although its introduction coincided with increasing demand for aircraft with more advanced systems and lower crew requirements. Seating capacity varied with layout and operator preference, with typical 2-class layout accommodating 486 passengers, while high-density configurations pushed this number to a maximum of 608, with the increased capacity making the 747-300 appealing to airlines operating in high-demand markets, especially those with limited landing slots or constrained infrastructure. On June 11, 1980, Swissair became the launch customer of the 747-300, and following a swift development program, the first airframe, November 8277 Victor, rolled out of Boeing's Everett factory on September 21, 1982, followed by its maiden flight on October 5 of the same year, initiating a successful test campaign that paved the way for certification and delivery, the 747-300 having no prototype, with the Pioneer aircraft being production specified and delivered to Swissair as Hotel Bravo India Golf Charlie on March 19, 1983. Following Swissair, several international carriers adopted the type, including French airline UTA in both passenger and combi versions, Saudia, Singapore Airlines, Qantas and Cathay Pacific, while KLM not only acquired newly built 747-300s, but also undertook a retrofit program, modifying 10 of its 747-200 aircraft to incorporate the stretched upper deck, effectively creating a hybrid dubbed the 747-200 SUD. However, while the 747-300 introduced a number of incremental improvements over the preceding 200, including updated avionics, options for more powerful and efficient engines, and upgrades to the onboard systems such as navigation and flight instrumentation, the aircraft's commercial appeal proved limited, while no 747-300s would be procured domestically by American carriers, despite the 747-100 and 200 and the obscure 747SP demonstrating healthy sales among US airlines. One critical misstep by Boeing was its decision to keep the 747-200 in production alongside the 300, and with the 747-300 being not significantly more efficient or capable than the 200, many airlines saw little reason to opt for the newer model, especially as the earlier variant remained more widely supported, while at the same time, the provision of a retrofit program to extend the upper deck of the existing 100s and 200s by Boeing also eliminated the primary selling point of the 300. Cost became another major hurdle, with 1982 seeing the list price for the 747-200 standing at approximately $66 million, whereas the 300 was priced around $83 million, with many airlines seeing this 25% price jump simply as unjustifiable for delivering a proportionate return in performance or economics, especially in consideration of the economic pressures and fuel prices plaguing the market in the wake of the 1979 oil crisis. The 747-300's market position was further undermined by the announcement of the 747-400 project in 1985, which offered far more substantial improvements, including a fully redesigned flight deck that eliminated the need for a flight engineer, allowing for a two-person cockpit, while also offering better fuel economy, more powerful and quieter engines, a significantly increased range, and aerodynamic enhancements such as winglets, these facets resulting in many airlines deferring new purchases and instead waiting for the more capable 747-400's proposed launch at the end of the decade. Geographical demand also worked against the 747-300, as in the United States, Boeing's largest and most loyal customer base, there was limited domestic demand for very large aircraft, as unlike in countries such as Japan, where high-density short-haul routes justified the use of jumbo jets, American carriers found more value in operating smaller wide-bodies such as the DC-10, L-1011, or Boeing's Zone 767, and as a result, not a single US carrier ordered the 747-300, further limiting its global reach and support network. In total, Boeing manufactured 81 examples of the 747-300 between 1983 and 1990, with the last example, Oscar Sierra Golf Delta, being delivered to Sabina in September of that year, with 56 examples being the standard passenger model, while 21 were combi models known as the 747-300M, which combined passenger seating with rear-deck cargo capacity, and 4 were short-range versions exclusive to the Japanese market and were dubbed the 747-300SR. Nevertheless, the aircraft found homes with several international carriers, with other users of the type including South African Airways, Qantas and Brazil's Varig, the latter of which configured its 5 aircraft in both full passenger and combi formats, allowing them to operate long-haul services linking South America to destinations across North America, Europe and Asia. Japan Airlines was the sole user of the 747-300SR units and were employed on dense domestic routes such as Tokyo to Okinawa, with these machines being configured to seat over 600 passengers and featured unique liveries, including the colorful Resod chasquines used on leisure flights. Korean Air was also among notable users, operating several 747-300s, including Hotel Lima 7468, which tragically crashed in Guam in 1997 as Flight 801, and Hotel Lima 7469, which was later sold to Orient Thai and retired in 2016, while the airline's sole 747-300M, Hotel Lima 7470, was eventually converted for cargo use, serving under multiple carriers including Cargo 360 and Southern Air until it was scrapped in 2011. One of the most enduring examples of the 747-300N variant was operated by Mahan Air of Iran, which was built in 1986 and initially delivered to UTA as Foxtrot Golf Echo Tango Bravo, this aircraft passing through Air France before being acquired by Mahan in 2008 and re-registered as Echo Papa Mike November Echo, where it experienced several incidents, including a runway excursion in 2013 and a significant hydraulic failure in 2015. Though despite these incidents, the aircraft was returned to service briefly in 2021, marking one of the final passenger operations by a 747-300. Qantas was among the last major Western airlines to retire the type from regular passenger service, operating its final 747-300 flights on December 29, 2008 between Melbourne and Los Angeles via Auckland, while Pakistan International Airlines followed suit in 2015, retiring its last unit after 3 decades of operation, with the 747-300 having been a staple of the famous Islamabad to Manchester service in the UK. Factory versions of the 747-300 in freighter configuration did not exist, but aftermarket conversions meant that a majority of the final airworthy examples had been revised to this standard by the time they were retired, with the last known example still in commercial service as of 2025 being Echo Whiskey 465 Tango Quebec, a freighter operated by Transavia Export of Belarus, which was also the final 747-300 built when delivered to Sabina in September 1990, with this unit converted to a freighter in 2000 and continues to operate cargo missions over 3 decades later. Additionally, 747-3 Golf 1, as delivered new to the Saudi Arabian government in December 1983, was a regular VIP transport until September 2022, and has now been placed into storage pending an uncertain future at Jeddah Airport, representing one of the last 747-300s in regular work outside of freight operation. In terms of accidents, the 747-300 was involved in 7 incidents which resulted in the deaths of 229 people, with the first loss taking place on March 16, 1985, when Foxtrot Golf Delta Uniform Alpha of UTA was severely damaged by fire while stationed at Paris Charles de Gaulle Airport during cleaning, resulting in no injuries among the maintenance crews, but the aircraft was rendered a total loss. On August 6, 1997, the only fatal incident involving the 747-300 took place when Korean Air Flight 801, operated by 747-3 Bravo 5 Hotel Lima 7468, crashed during its final approach to the Antonio B. Won Pat International Airport in Guam after flying from Seoul, as due to the crew misjudging their descent and failing to follow standard approach procedures during poor weather, the aircraft dropped below the glide slope and struck high ground approximately 3 miles short of the runway, disintegrating upon impact, leading to the deaths of 229 out of the 254 people aboard. On August 23, 2001, Saudia Flight 3830, operated by 747-368 Hotel Zulu Alpha India Oscar, was damaged beyond repair when it rolled into a drainage ditch, while being repositioned on the ground prior to a flight back to Jeddah at Kuala Lumpur, the empty airliner being under the control of a ground engineer who was taxiing the jet using only the number 2 and number 3 engine. But as the aircraft attempted to turn, both the braking and steering systems failed to respond due to the auxiliary hydraulic systems responsible for powering these controls being inactive during the taxi. The most recent hull loss involving a 747-300 took place on June 8, 2014 during a terrorist attack on the Jinnah International Airport in Karachi, Pakistan, by 10 militants aligned with the Taliban, who infiltrated the airport and with a mixture of automatic rifles and rocket-propelled grenades, proceeded to attack multiple airliners on the ground, including PIA Boeing 747-367 Alpha Papa Bravo Foxtrot Victor, with the attack resulting in 36 fatalities, including all 10 of the attackers. To summarize, the 747-300 ultimately became a transitional footnote in the story of Boeing's jumbo jet, as while it played an important role in advancing the design and preparing the groundwork for the 747-400, it failed to capture the market's interest in any lasting way due to it being positioned awkwardly between 2 highly successful models, with the 747-300 being too little, too late, and too expensive. However, the resultant machine was no less an airliner when compared to its kin, and proved through decades of dedicated service that it could easily match the 747-100 and 200 on performance, while also being able to complement the 400 that replaced it. And though the 747-300 is frequently overlooked alongside its more notable stablemates, its subtle role in the evolution of the 747 family cannot be understated.